Hey, what's up guys? It's Art Book Addiction here, and we're here with a new artist journey video. So today, we're going to be talking about flow state. So flow state, it's the time when the magic comes in, okay? There is a moment where you are working and your brain goes into overdrive and at the same time underdrive, okay? You lose sense of time, you lose sense of whatever's around you. You're completely 100% focused, dialed in. You have no thoughts, but you have every thought, okay? And this is the moment where the divine comes into your work, okay? When you are making shit that you can't even imagine, all right? And honestly, it's one of the biggest reasons why people create in the first place, so that they can get back into the flow state, right? It feels like at the moment where you are truly in tune with your work, okay? So that's what we'll be talking about today. But before we start the video, please hit that like, hit that subscribe, check out my prints and Patreon if you want to support the channel. And with that, let's get into it. So, flow state. When you are entering flow state, you can't really tell when you've reached the barrier, right? I think the best way to tell is to notice when you're not really thinking actively, okay, with your conscious brain. Like, it's almost like things are just like kind of coming and going, and it's almost like a meditative state, right? And during these times, it's when you are at your most instinctual, it's when you're at your most accurate, okay? Like you're pulling moves that you're like what the hell, right? And you kind of don't want to even get in your own way by thinking about it. You just want to like let it happen, just let it, it's like getting into, it's like when you're singing a song, right? And like the lyrics just come naturally, right? Like if you ever played Guitar Hero, you're just busting out all the notes, right? And you know that if you even think about it, then you will lose it, okay? You can't, like, when you're in the flow state, you don't want to question it. You want to just go along with it, okay? And sometimes your flow state will allow you to do crazy decisions, okay? For example, when I'm painting, okay? I cite this a lot where I'll be painting, okay? And then my brain will just say, hey, use this random color that you wouldn't like my conscious brain would never think of, okay? Never say like, hey, use this color in combination with this color, right? I would think, hey, that's wild, dude. Why would I do that? That's kind of, and like, it's like in a way, like in my brain, I'm like, that's kind of stupid, okay? But I've learned to trust my unconscious brain, okay? And to let the flow state take me where it goes, okay? Because, when you're creating, you could always fix things, okay? Well, depending on your medium, but in most cases, you could always fix things. And in a lot of the times, though your flow state may take you to wild places, usually they work out, and that's really the benefit of flow state, okay? So, you're in the moment, you're in the flow state, you don't know what's happening, and like, that's kind of the joy of flow state, because you're being, that is when the muse comes in, okay? When the beyond comes into your body, takes over, and you are simply a vessel for the muse, okay? And you could flow, and it's like a beautiful dance, okay? And you really, and it's great because you feel almost like euphoric when it's happening, okay? You're like whoa, dude, and like there's no thought, okay? And at the same time, like I said, you're thinking about a million things. You're like, but it doesn't feel like you're actively thinking. It feels like it's just the thinking is in the background, but your brain is like, just like, and you're just making this beautiful performance. And people, if they look from the outside, will notice that, okay? Have you ever seen a really great painter paint? Have you seen a really good dancer dance? Okay, when they're in the middle of it, when they're channeling the divine, when they're letting the flow state overtake them, they will do things that people think are impossible, okay? But they will nail it 100% perfect. Boom, 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 boom. perfect, 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 and you're gonna go, how do they do that? Okay, and the answer is flow state. Okay, and the best people, the professionals, okay, the people who really are good at what they do, it doesn't matter what it is, okay, they'll tell you the best place you want to be is in the flow state. Okay, and you want to put it in as long as possible. You want to achieve flow state for as long as possible, because that's the best way to create the best work, and it gets done faster, it gets done more honestly, you don't have to think about it, time flies. Okay, so you want to be achieving flow state when you're working as much as possible. Okay, but however, you can't always do that. Okay, flow state is something that it kind of takes like a little bit of warming up to get into, right? And so that's why there's a lot of people who do a lot of like drawing practice before they get into their main piece, right? That's why there's a lot of like, when you're in sports, you do warm-up exercises before you get into the work, right? There you want to be kind of already in it. Okay, and there's kind of like this hill that you have to climb before you can just, you dive in and you enter the flow state, and you're doing things, you're doing the crazy stuff, right? It's not always easy to enter flow state. Okay, so let me talk about blockers of flow state, things that get in the way of flow state. Okay, so the number one thing that's going to get in the way of you and your flow state, okay, is your own thoughts. Okay, if you are questioning every single one of your thoughts, then it's like an obstacle. You're like, should I make this stroke? You hit a block. Should I do this? You're making a block. Should I do this? Should I do this? Should I do this? Okay, and then just boom, 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 and you're hitting the wall. You're hitting the wall. You're hitting the wall, and you can't hit the flow state. Okay, because you're kind of getting in your own way. You understand what I'm saying, right? So if you think too much, if you're just like then you're gonna get in your own way, and you're gonna stop the flow state from happening. To let the flow state from happening, you have to relax. Okay, and you have to almost like do your work while not judging yourself. Okay, right? Of course you have to judge and like do it in a way where you have to like, okay, well, is this correct? Is this correct? Am I working right? But at the same time, you have to not judge yourself. Okay, where it's like, is this right? And it makes you stiff. You understand? There's a time where you're making a call and you follow through with it. Okay, and that's different from you make a call, you follow through, and then you're like, is that right? Okay, no, you have to go like boom, boom. Okay, the next one, then the next step, then the next step, then the next step, and then that builds momentum. And as that momentum builds and gets faster and faster and faster, and then you start turning the wheel. You see what I'm saying? You see where it's going, right? And then boom, 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 and then your machine is spinning, right? And once it's at its full speed, that's when the divine comes in. Okay, flow state activates. Okay, it's like in a video game, when you hit that, when you have that ultimate mode, right? Or you're like rage mode, and then you like all of your stats are increased. Okay, your power is increased, and you don't have to think about anything else. Okay, and it's just like every benefit that you could have from drawing, from painting, is in flow state. Okay, and so that requires you to trust yourself. Okay, and that's a lot for a lot of people, right? Artists are very anxiety filled people, right? We're always worried about this and that, all about the little details, right? But you need to let yourself work. Okay, you gotta let yourself do the thing, right? Even if you make mistakes, you need to know that if there's a mistake, I can fix it. Okay, and so you think that being in flow state, you can and then you make a mistake and then it'll take you out of flow state, and that's not true. Okay, making a mistake is okay and part of the flow state. You make a mistake and you notice it, and what do? You just fix it. Okay, you just that's wrong, fix. Okay, but you don't judge yourself. Okay, the whole point is that you are working in a judgment-free zone. Okay, to allow yourself to make those mistakes, to allow yourself to flow confidently And even if it's wrong, allow it to happen. Okay, allow it to, oh, well, that's wrong, and then I go again. Okay, and then in that way, you can really be anxiety free. You could be judgment free. You could create the best work you ever did before, right? And so I know there's a lot of artists out there who are very worried about when you're creating something, right? And all I gotta say is, for those people who really can't hit that flow state yet, you're just gonna need to practice. Okay, you're gonna need to work and work until you're really comfortable with your medium, until you're really comfortable with what you're creating. And once you hit that comfort zone, then you're like, okay, I'm comfortable, I'm confident, and I'm gonna approach this my way. Okay, and I know that no matter what, whether it's good or it's bad, I can fix it. Okay, and I can make it good, right? And that will allow the muse to know, like, wow, this vessel, he's confident. This vessel, she knows what she's doing. Okay, so I'm gonna allow myself to come in, okay, and take over, right? And when it takes over, just let it happen, dude. Just let it happen. It's the best thing you could do for your work, and you're gonna be punching out like insane work, and it's really the place where you level up. Okay, so now that we talked about things that block flow state, I want to talk about things that help you enter flow state. Okay, so things that help you enter flow state. Okay, this may be a controversial one. Okay, this may be like, whoa, you know, right? But in my experience, okay, cannabis, marijuana, okay, that helps you go. It helps you go into that flow state. It deactivates the conscious brain and allows the unconscious brain to come out. Okay, so like, you know, a lot of people are like, they're like, oh, you know, artists, they smoke a lot of weed, right, to help, and it helps them be more creative, and that's not quite true. Okay, it helps you enter flow state, okay, which is really, really helpful. Okay, I don't really smoke anymore, right, but when I did, I noticed like there is obvious benefits. Okay, and so like I'm not saying like, hey, if you don't smoke, start smoking. It doesn't matter. You could still enter flow state no matter what. Okay, like, you don't need it. But I have to acknowledge that weed does really help. Okay, it does, like, you know. So if you already smoke and you don't do it before drawing, maybe try that. Okay, right. Another thing, alcohol does not help enter flow state. Okay, it has the opposite effect. Alcohol makes you sluggish, it makes you lose mobility and control, right? So that actually, and this is not from my account, this is from other people that I know, because I don't really drink that much, right? And that, like, a lot of people that I know, when they drink and they start working, it just doesn't work, because you lose the mobility. Okay, but with weed, you don't really lose the mobility. You lose some mental faculties, which actually might be preventing you from entering flow state. So there's the helpfulness in that, right? But with alcohol, you lose physical mobility, so that actually prevents you from entering the flow state. I mean, you could get into the flow state, but you may not be able to have the hand-eye coordination to create properly, right? This is not by my account, this is by other people's account, okay? And with weed, that's from my account, okay? And that's my experience. So, you know, whatever your poison is, right? Like, I would say that, like, you know, I'm just gonna keep it to weed and alcohol, because that's what most people do, right? I don't really think that, like, you know, all the other stuff is gonna help you much, because otherwise it's too strong. Do you understand? And then, like, you're not gonna be able to focus into what you're doing, right? And it's so, like, you know, I don't really want to condone that kind of stuff, but I want to keep it to the very basics, and that's what I'm saying. Like, weed and alcohol, these are the rules. Okay, so with that out of the way, I want to talk about muscle memory. Okay, so this is where the practice really helps. Okay, where you have done something a million times, and so you don't have to think about it, right? And that's where it really, really helps. Okay, so with muscle memory, you just, you know, you've made the stroke a million times, you've done this a million times, right? And so your body already knows what to do. Okay, so if you're like, entering flow state when you're doing a new medium, is going to be difficult, okay? Because you don't have the muscle memory, you haven't built up the confidence, you don't really know exactly what you're doing, and so naturally you're going to be questioning yourself, okay? Is this right? Am I doing it right? And you're going to become stiff, okay? So in most cases, when you want to enter flow state, you want to be doing something that you're familiar with, you want to be doing something that you're comfortable with, right? But however, if you want to enter a new medium and then try to get into that flow state, it still is possible, okay? You're just gonna need to build up with more practice, more time, make something good, make sure it's successful, okay? That will give you the confidence to enter the next piece, and as you go, like I said, it's that momentum, okay? It's that momentum, and as you get better, you get more confident, you can remove the blockers, okay? To the point where you could just enter immediately, okay, into the flow state, right? So another thing that helps with flow state is your environment, okay? So you want to be in an environment that you're comfortable with, okay? But however, okay, not just like you're like, oh, you want to be in your studio, you want to be in a place where like you want to be in a place where you can really focus, okay? So if there's a lot of shit going on in the background that can like take you out of it, it's gonna, you know, that's what's gonna happen, right? If there's someone chattering, you're like, you know, it's annoying, okay? So a lot of the times, right, the solution to that, okay, is with music, okay? Music is a great way to enter flow state, okay? And what you want to do is create a playlist where you don't need to go back to it, where you just hey, this is my playlist, and it's in a way like you can predict it, you know what song is coming next, right? And so like in the same way that you get muscle memory, okay, and you get the momentum of creating, and you understand it, you want to do that with your music, okay? So with the familiarity of the music, and you know what song is coming next, and you know, like there's a pattern for the brain to follow, and then it allows it to just, you know, just allows you to ease into that flow state, okay? And you don't want to be looking at distractions, okay? So again, looking at, you know, your phone, okay? Looking at a YouTube video, right? I would say that you should never have something visual, okay? Audio is okay, all right? Audio is fine. Something visual will catch your attention, okay? So if you have a video on the side, right? And there's a lot of movement, your eye is gonna be drawn to it, okay? So what you want is to just keep it into the audio, okay? So you could have something like my videos, you could have it in the background, right? But understand that, like, if I'm on the other screen, right, and you have your work on the the first screen, you're gonna be, you know, you're gonna be looking back and forth, okay? And you know, sometimes, you know, if the video is like chill enough, right, it can work where you're like, okay, well, I'm working, you know, and then I'm like, and then someone says something funny, I'm like, you know, I look over there and I go back, right? But understand that in most cases, something like a video is gonna get in the way, right? But you could just do what I do and just minimize it, okay? And just allow for the audio to take over, right? So that's another distraction, right? You want zero distractions in your workplace, okay? And so like, okay, forget about that. I was talking about the environment, okay? Another thing that really helps with flow state, and you're not gonna like this, okay, is the heat, okay? You kind of want to be a little delirious, all right? So in my experience, okay, so the cold, in my experience, has had the opposite effect, okay, where it makes you stiff and like, you know, like and you're kind of like slower, right? The heat, however, is different, okay? And like, like I said, I don't know if this is a good thing or not, but you know, I like to work in a really hot environment, okay? I like to work where it's really hot, okay? So I went to and I learned about this when I went to Italy, right? So I had a trip to Italy. It was a school trip, and we were doing plein air painting, right? And during the summer there, it would get to temperatures like to 120, like ridiculous heat. Okay, it was really, really hot. Okay, and super humid. Okay, and what I've experienced there is that when you hit that heat level, your brain kind of starts to like melt a little bit, right? You start to lose some mental faculties. Okay, and just like with mind altering things, the heat can help you enter that flow state where you're just like and you're just kind of like a zombie, but you're doing like, so the rest of your brain is just meant to focus on the canvas, right? So if you have a trouble getting into flow state, maybe it's too cold in your environment. Okay, maybe it's too chilly, right? Heat it up, crank up the heat. Okay, don't create heat, that's unnecessary. Okay, but understand that if you're in a hotter environment, the flow state might come in easier, right? So I think that about covers it. Entering flow state is just the best way you can improve your work. It allows you to get into the divine, allows for the unconscious brain to come out, allows for the best work to come out. So you really, really want to take all the things that I said, and you can like combine these things, right? Like music, heat, and or like you get a little bit of the cannabis, right? And then you put in like music, and then it just all comes together, right? But understand that entering flow state doesn't necessarily mean that everything that you're going to make is going to be perfect, but the important part is that you enter flow state. Okay, and as you get better, as you work more, your flow state will get better, your instincts will get better, and you as an artist will become better. Okay, and that's really the whole point, right? So I think we can end the video here, guys. Please, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like, hit that subscribe, check out my Prince and Patreon if you want to support the channel. And with that, all that bullshit, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks a lot.